All right, let's take a look at question 6. All right, so question 6, it tells us that we have two initially uncharged capacitors. So we know VFC initial for first one would be 0, VFC2 will also be 0. They give our values up here, and they say they're connected in series. And then we have our 50-volt source. Okay. So what are the voltages of V1? Okay. So see this little clipped out bit right there, those two terminals? What this means is that initially these weren't connected, but we came in and we connected them at those spots, and then now they started charging up. So we can only assume that this runs to infinity because they don't give us a time. So we can just assume that it runs to infinity. But there's a key concept that you have to know. So kind of like how we have branches in parallel have the same voltage, capacitors in series have the same charge, and that's denoted with Q. So our base equation, Q is equal to CV. But we know that these two have the same charge. Let's look at what we have. We have this capacitance, right? But we don't have the voltage, and we don't have the charge quite yet. But similar to how we do the finding the current in a resistor circuit, we can do the same thing with charge. So you can do a Q is equal to C equivalent times the voltage of the source, and then you can find that Q, which is the same as that Q. So if we find C equivalent of the circuit, it'll be C1 times C2 over C1 plus C2, and that'll be 15 times 10 over 15 plus 10. And that'll give us 6. And we'll pull the microfarads back in. So now we just have 6 microfarads. And then we have the 50-volt source. Okay. Notice off the charge, C equivalent times VS. That'll be 6 microfarads times 50 volts. And remember, we want to keep this in base units. 6 times 10 to the negative 6 farads times 50 volts. And this will give us 3 times 10 to the negative 4th coulombs. Coulombs is the unit for charge. Drop my pen there. Okay. So now that we have the charge, we know that Q1 is equal to Q2. So if we do Q1 is equal to C1 V1, therefore we can solve for V1. So V1 will be Q1 divided by C1. So 3 times 10 to the negative 4th coulombs over C1, and C1 we said was 15 microfarads. So 15 times 10 to the negative 6 farads. And this will give us 20 volts for V1, which is the same as what they got. And then real quick, while we're still here, we can go ahead and solve for V2 as well. So Q2 over C2. So 3 times 10 to the negative fourth coulombs over 10 times 10 to the negative 6 farads. And that gives us 30 volts for V2. And these two add up to 50. So we are happy with our answer.